Hi, church. Pastor Jeff here with another Trinity check-in on Ash Wednesday. More on that in a minute, but first, one last thought about doubt. You know, we've been doing a series on doubt for the past 5 or 6 weeks here at Trinity, and it has been fantastic. So many of you have talked about how it's helping you grow. I can see it in many of you, and as I've shared, I can see it in myself. This is a series that has spoken to me deeply too, and has been truly transformational in my own life. It's still in progress, I think, but that's what I want to share with you today. As promised, I want to share with you today where I doubt. You know, it's interesting. Some of the experiences that I've been blessed to have, I'm going to use the word privilege, that I've been privileged to have, make it so that I don't really doubt the existence of God. I don't really doubt is the Bible true? That was the second sermon in the series. But we all have doubt, even if it's not the big things, even if it's not the obvious things or the same doubts that other people have, we still have it. And so one of the questions I've been asking myself through this series is, where are my doubts? And if I'm honest, I'm going to be a little vulnerable here. I think my doubts are in God's promises. No, I know my doubts are in God's promises. You know, we have passages that are in Isaiah and in the prophets. The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, that the day will come when war and fighting will cease. Then there are promises in the book of Revelation, and there are ways to interpret these biblically. You know, it's a certain type of writing, and there are intellectual ways you can write those passages off. But they strike me as true. Yet, I look at the world and I think, really? Really? Is there really going to be a day where crying and mourning are no more? Is there really going to be a day when that type of suffering ceases? Is that really how God works? That's where my doubt rests at the moment. And, well, I still don't entirely know what I'm about to say to you all. Maybe I'll figure it out as I talk. But as I've thought about it, you know, there are so many things in faith that I don't doubt. So the existence of God, for instance, Jesus. Another thing that I don't doubt is the resurrection. Now that may sound strange because it would be right and natural to doubt the resurrection. Is it factually true? Did it really happen? And there are lots of answers that can be given for that. One of them that you often hear is that the movement of Christianity never would have gelled as it did if it didn't have the resurrection. If the first ones hadn't seen the resurrection with their own eyes and seen the risen Jesus. To me, it goes a little bit different. It comes from studying ancient writings and how the Bible works. And the writing style in the Bible changes at the resurrection. And I swear, you can hear the excitement in those first writers writing those stories. The level of consistency and inconsistency is different than you see elsewhere. I don't know. There are a lot of clues that just say, no, the resurrection is true. But even more than that, perhaps this is one of my handicaps being a pastor, you know, that puts me in a place of privilege. I have presided over so many funerals, easily over 100 funerals. I really wish I'd started counting when I first became a pastor. And the experience of preaching resurrection that many times causes you to wrestle with it yourself. At least that's been my experience. So I don't doubt the resurrection. And it follows that if the resurrection is true, what else is true? You know, if God really is making all things new, as one of God's promises says, then mustn't it all be true? Mustn't it go further than that? You know, that one of the theologians that's very formative for me is Jürgen Moltmann. He's actually still living in his 90s in Germany. And his whole thing is that, boy, stated very simply, his whole thing is that theology doesn't start with the Garden of Eden. Theology starts with the end. theology starts with the good future that God is bringing us toward and calling us toward, it's not that history is pushing us forward, it's that the future is pulling us toward us, calling us toward us, that God is beckoning us from the future. One way that I've heard it put beautifully is it's like a toddler who's just learning to walk. No, almost toddler who's just learning to toddle. And it's so scary taking those first few steps. But what helps the toddler do it? What helps the baby become a toddler? It's the parent at the other end of the room saying, come on, you can do this, come toward me. That's theology. It's God from the future beckoning us towards that good future. So why do I still doubt? That's the question I don't think I can answer. Even though I believe so strongly that God is calling us toward the future, maybe it's simply because we can't see it fully yet. Maybe that's just the source of the doubt right there. Maybe it's fear of how hard it will be to take those steps toward it. Oh, that's it, isn't it? I think that's it for me. Or maybe it's just wanting to know what we're getting into before we get there. That could be part of it too. But I don't know. All right, so I'm rambling, but I wanted to share with you some of my own honest doubts in hopes that it helped you too. And so, I don't know, I think even just sharing this with you, I feel a little more comfortable with God's promises and in the importance to my own belief of the idea that God is calling us from the future. Okay. So, with that said, I would still love to hear from you all. Let me know where your doubts are. If you're willing to share, I would love to have a good conversation. Email, make an appointment, come on by, we'll meet for coffee, whatever. All of it is good. It has been a good series, and I'm glad it's been a feeding for many of you, too. Now, as I said, today is Ash Wednesday, so this evening here at 6:30 here in Spirit Hall, we're going to have an Ash Wednesday service. We'll do the sign of the cross on the forehead with ashes, or you can also, if you're not comfortable with that, you can get it on your hand. What you may not know is that our children burned the palm leaves this year. I'll explain the palm leaf thing at the service this evening, but these are them. These are the ashes that our children burned out on the playground last Sunday, and I'm going to be mixing them with some oil so that we can do the ritual of the ashes, the imposition of the ashes. As part of the service, we'll watch some video of that burning. We'll talk about the parts of us that need to be thrown into the fire so that the rest of us can thrive. You'll be invited to either give something up or add something to your life to double down your efforts to grow in God in this season, and I think it will be a good thing for us all. Lent plays an important part in the Christian year and in the Christian faith, and it's part of what helps us to grow. So I would invite you to take the next step. If you aren't able to make it here at 6:30, we'll be live streaming. I'll tell you, it's more powerful if you're here with the ashes. But if better something than nothing, you can always join on our live stream. We will be live at 6:30, and then that will be on our website afterwards too for you to catch later. But it will be a good journey and a very appropriate next step as we finish talking about doubts to work on ourselves more deeply so that we can continue growing from it all. All right, one thing I don't doubt is that it's always good to see you all, church. Boy, that was cheesy. I look forward to seeing you tonight or whenever I see you. Have a good Wednesday.